All right. This one might actually be my personal favorite. Like as far as like the way that they play and everything, this one might be my favorite. I also love one a lot, but I think this might be my fave. Oh, at least we got Chun-Li first this time. Yeah, it already feels different. There really was a big jump from 2 to 3. Oh. It feels like it feels slower and like um yeah, I think it's just the speed thing. It's like slower and like obviously like the animation has less frames of animation, but it's mostly a speed thing, I guess. It'll be interesting because we're going backwards. Like when we get to Alpha 1, it's like that's probably gonna feel like molasses after these two. I like the music a lot in the first two games though. Like I genuinely actually think the music is better for the first two games. It's like more memorable than Alpha 3. That's like the one that I feel like argument that I feel like I could make that I might be right. Like I get it, it could be argued that 3 is a better game, but I do think that the music is better for the first two. Oh shit. Ah, Yoga, fuck you. Yoga, get wrecked. Got him. J-Chan and Roy just loving each other in the chat there. I'm wearing my new Kiss shirt, which is super cool. I like it. We're having like a Kiss love fest at my house like the last like couple weeks because my 4-year-old just discovered Kiss, so she's like all fucking into it, which is cool for me because like I'm a Kiss fan, so it's been cool like introducing her to that. And it's always funny with little kids because it's like, you know, Kiss is like the perfect band to like to show little kids because they're literally like larger than life comic book characters. So it's like, you know, she's 4 years old, so it's like there's that like thing where like she's like, so like what the fuck, like are these aren't even like real fucking people. Like holy shit, like these motherfuckers are from like space and this guy's like a fucking demon and shit. Like shit's crazy. So she's like blowing her mind. And then also there's like a Scooby-Doo cartoon that has Kiss, so it's like her whole world is just like they're in Scooby-Doo. Like it's fucking hilarious. That's kind of the genius though of their appeal is that like that band will outlive all of us. They're gonna outlive themselves literally, and then they're gonna outlive all of us too because you know they created these like avatars that aren't even like, you know, they're literally just like comic book characters. Like Kiss will be like, even when people like don't, people will probably remember Kiss more than they'll remember even like the Beatles. Like given a long enough time span, I bet I would put money on Kiss outliving the Beatles. Kiss is gonna outlive everyone. That's what's gonna be fucking hilarious. It's like, the critics fucking hate him, and like all the like music snobs are like, oh, like fuck Kiss, like whatever, and it's like, yeah, but they're gonna outlive fucking everyone. It'll just be, after everything is laid to waste by nuclear warfare, it'll be cockroaches and Kiss. That's all that'll be left. Which is fine by me. Scotty said the disco band. Oh man. Boy, I would have loved to have been around in 1979 or 78, whatever year it was that they put out fucking uh I was made for loving you, baby. Like, oh man, to be like a hard rock fan in like 1978 or 1979 and Kiss pulls that shit, like people, I mean, I've heard people talk about it, who were there, and it's like, you think people don't like it now? It's like, oh man, like, you know, hard rock fans, like back then in the late 70s, they were fucking pissed. Like teenagers and shit. Like, oh my god, to be like in one of those like 70s like basements, you know what I mean? Like, where you're like in a, maybe you're even like starting out a band and you're like 16 years old, just to be like, what the fuck with Kiss, bro? What is up with Kiss in this fucking disco song? And like, now like little kids like him and shit, and like, fuck this band. Man, people were so fucking upset. It's funny now, but it's like, yeah, like, and like, I think like I have an interesting relationship with the band because, like, obviously I wasn't alive in the 70s. I was born in the very early 80s, so I missed out on all that. But so my sort of like introduction to Kiss wasn't that Kiss. My Kiss was the 80s Kiss, the without the makeup. That was my Kiss. So I have this whole other like weird relationship where it's like, to me, the makeup era stuff was like old. It like felt old because like, I was introduced to them in the 80s. So like the first stuff that I heard from Kiss that I liked was like stuff off like well, I did like Creatures of the Night, which they did have their makeup on, but a lot of that stuff, like they only did like one short tour for that record, which actually like bombed. That record didn't do well at all, even though it was like a heavy record. Like they went like pretty heavy, and well, heavy for Kiss, and it would have been it's kind of like they were like trying to get back their fan base, but by that point the fans were like, fuck you, you did disco, and then you did the Elder and like all this other shit, and they were just kind of gone. But anyway, I liked that record, but like I actually liked like Hot in the Shade, and Hot in the Shade is like actually like one of my top Kiss records, and that fucking record is like 80s as fuck. I liked Animalize and all that stuff, but that was like the Kiss that I grew up with, like the 80s MTV Kiss, where they were all like wearing like leather and shit, and like, the big 80s hair metal hair, and and then they put out Revenge in 92, which was like super fucking cool. A new challenger, what the fuck? Oh, it's me. It's Dan. Hey Blondie, here's a quarter. What's up, Shode? What was they saying? Oh yeah, they fucking put out Revenge, which was also like a super cool record, and like heavier for Kiss, but it had that like that cover of God Gave Rock and Roll to You. I think they called it God Gave Rock and Roll to You too. It was on the Bill and Ted soundtrack. But again, like it was non-makeup Kiss, so yeah, that's just, for the longest time, it's like that's who Kiss was to me, and like Kiss and makeup was just this old thing that they used to do. So, and it was wild because I got to fucking see them when they did the reunion tour in 1996. I I went to go see him in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Uh, but and that was when I finally, it took that for me to finally respect what they did in the 70s with the makeup. That changed everything for me. And it was the original four guys and everything. And I went back and like listened to all those records, and like it kind of changed I had a new respect for Kiss, and I've respected them ever since as a band, because like all the bullshit aside from like Gene Simmons, like he's a fucking he's crazy and he says controversial shit and whatever. Personalities aside and like all that bullshit, as just like a hard rock band, like the stuff that they were doing, like their early stuff, they were just a good band. Like Ace Frehley, like you wouldn't have like a lot of guitarists that you have today. Like the influence is like, it's incalculable. Like the influence that Ace Frehley alone had on fucking hard rock and metal, honestly. I mean, like Dimebag Darrell fucking loved that dude. Like a lot of metal guys fucking loved Ace Frehley, and like even like grunge, like a lot of that was like influenced by like he had this like real like kind of like almost like sloppy like way of playing, and like it just like I don't know, like it had a lot of feeling, and like but it was still technical, and just nobody played like Ace Frehley. Like he's like he kind of reminds me like he almost reminds me of like Kurt Cobain in that way, that like maybe Kurt Cobain wasn't like an amazing like fucking like he couldn't like shred or whatever, or I don't know, maybe he could have, but you never heard him like shred or anything. And he was kind of sloppy, but he had like a style. Like nobody really played like Kurt. He just had these real Kurt Cobain stylistic things that he did, and it was the same thing with Ace Frehley. Like Ace Frehley wasn't like technically like the best guitar player ever, but he had that Ace Frehley thing about him. He had a sound like you could play me an isolated electric guitar track and I would know if it was Ace Frehley. You could just tell, like he just had a style. Fuck, I just got my ass kicked. So I don't know, it's like I get it, like people don't like Kiss and whatever, and but I have found over the years, over the decades, being in a band and also like working with people who are also professionals and whatever, and it's like Kiss is really, I mean, they're definitely like a working class kind of band and they appeal to like that kind of crowd, but like they're also very much a band's band is what I've learned over the years. Like a lot of the people that don't like Kiss aren't musicians themselves, or they're not in bands and stuff, and it's not even like they're not like a musician's band, like how like there's like a band like Tool, and people will say like Tool is like a musician's band because they're all like technical and complex and whatever. And other bands like that, like progressive bands, that's like a musician's. Rush gets thrown around a lot as like Rush is a musician's band, right? Like fucking a lot of people hate Rush, but a lot of musicians like actually really love Rush. I think Kiss is like that, but for just like bands, like they're just a band's band. Everybody that I know that's in a band, like just fucking, they love Kiss. Like I don't know, it's just like part of the DNA of like, if you're gonna be in a rock band, like you love Kiss, like. So I don't know, and I think it's fun, and like they're like a band that like like obviously like they're not that deep, and it's like I could be having a shitty day and it's like I can just throw some Kiss on and it's like it's fun, you know what I mean? Whereas like if I'm having a shitty day, like I don't necessarily want to listen to like fucking Soundgarden or like Nirvana or something. This is gonna make me feel worse. Like you want to listen to some like fucking rock and roll all night and party every day, some Strutter, Strutter. Oh man. Oh. God damn it. Come on. The fucking 35 Hadoukens in a row. No. I'm on the bad side. I don't play as good. There we go. I don't think I'm gonna be able to come back from this. I think it's over. Shit! Come on, come on, come on. God damn it. What a weird way to lose. But yeah, you know, Kiss, I like them. You know, and they're one of those bands too that like I've tried to sell people on them in the past, and you know, I've realized after many times trying that it's just not gonna work. Like they're just one of those bands that either you're gonna like them or not. Like there's not really an in between. It's like either you get it or you don't get it, and that's fine. Like not everything is for everyone. So, but I do like them, and there is something like a little bit in me that's like, you know, I think there's a bit of like, in a weird like roundabout way, Kiss is very punk rock in the sense that like they are kind of like, it's like it's not hip to like Kiss, so like it makes me like them more because like I can't stand fucking hipsters and shit, so it's like it just makes me like them more because it's not cool to like Kiss. So I'm like, fuck yeah, Kiss is the greatest band ever. The more you tell me it's not cool to like Kiss, like it just makes me like them even more. So, and I do have to say, like being a parent now and like having a kid, it's been super cool, like watching, you know, my kid like get into it, because there is something very appealing about the band to kids. They hit a home run with the whole like makeup thing and the characters and all that shit. Man, we're gonna be stuck on Ryu for a while here, huh? Oh. Fucking wrecked, you fucking hobo. Get out of here, bitch. Got him. Alright, one more. I can do one more. Oh no! God damn it. No! I'm on the bad side again. Fucking... Come on. Showed said, love the graphics for this game. Yeah, they're super good. I was just playing Alpha 3 right before this, and those graphics are even better than this one. But yeah, all three of these games just have incredible graphics. Speaking of longevity with bands and stuff, I think tomorrow is actually the is it like been 31 years I think now that fucking Kurt Cobain blew his brains out. I think last year was the 30th, so yeah, it'd be 31 years tomorrow. I think technically like he killed himself like a few days before, but like they found him on the 8th, I think. But yeah, that's fucking crazy, man. It's crazy that like that band had such an influence on music and like literally changed everything, and they only had 3 full-length records. It's just so wild. And that like to this day like they're still like so like influential and like talked about and shit. I guess it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of like another band that's like that. It's like not even like, you know, like you think of bands like The Doors and I'm not as familiar with like Hendrix, but I'm pretty sure Hendrix did more than 3 records, right? Or am I wrong? I mean, The Doors had a fuck ton of records. So it's like Jim Morrison, you know, fucking dying at 27. It was like, yeah, it's sad and whatever, but it's like I mean, they had a pretty good amount of records. There's bands that just broke up that didn't even put out that many records. It wasn't even that anyone died; they just broke up. But yeah, with the Nirvana thing, it's like 3 records. Would have been interesting to see if he could have fucking stuck around. What would have happened? You know, I think because you look at like a lot of bands from that time, I think what would have happened is I think Nirvana would have just broken up. It's what I think would have happened. That's kind of always been my prediction. I think they would have done one more record, and they might have just like fucking called it quits after that. Because if you read Kurt Cobain's suicide note, it kind of sounds like he's just breaking up the band. Like if you exclude the very end part of the note, where he's, you know, it's very clearly like, oh, I'll be at your altar, Courtney, and blah blah blah, and all this kind of bullshit. If you just read the rest of it out of context, it literally just sounds like he's quitting Nirvana. He's just talking about like, yeah, like fucking feels like I'm punching in a time card, and you know, I don't want to fucking, you know, betray the audience and all this kind of shit. And it's like, sounds like he's breaking up the band because he doesn't want to do it anymore, and he doesn't want to cheat the audience. And then, so, you know, if you look at it that way, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't think they would have lasted much more than maybe one more record. And then I could have seen him like maybe going like just solo or something, like under his own name. But you look at all the bands at that time, like, I mean, Soundgarden only made it to 1997, right? They broke up in 97. And then, you know, the Smashing Pumpkins barely made it out of the 90s, but, you know, they didn't last past 2001. You know, let's see who else. Pearl Jam. I mean, Pearl Jam stuck around, but it was like, it's not like they were doing anything fucking like crazy. It was just the same shit over and over again. So, you know, a lot of those bands didn't. Alice in Chains, you know, Lane Staley died in the early 2000s. You know, they literally, their last record was like 1995. And it was, you know, like just years of like, they didn't do anything. So it wouldn't have been shocking that Nirvana kind of did the same thing and only put out maybe 1 or 2 more records. But I do feel like they had one more like really good record in them. I think that's the biggest bummer, is I feel like they had another good one, but I guess we'll never know. It's crazy that the other thing that's crazy too is like I had this realization last year when I put out or it's not last year, year before last actually, when I put out the last I Am the Icarus record. I was like, holy shit, I've put out more records than Nirvana at this point. I didn't think that I would even get to that point of my career, but I'm like, yeah, I beat Kurt Cobain. Not only did I outlive him, but I've put out more records. So I guess that's something. Oops. All right.